Hello, you awesome friends. This is your pal, Edward here speaking. Welcome to our next interview with Edward. On the show tonight or today or wherever you are, we've got a very powerhouse guest who I've known for a very long time. She's a wonderful friend. She's spoken at our events before the coronavirus took off in the real world, and she's absolutely incredible. She's a speaker, educator, and author. She's gone through some very crazy stuff in her life, and this is why we've got her on our show. Dinaaz Lentin, welcome. How are you, Dinaaz?
I'm very good, thanks, Ed. How are you?
Dinaaz, I am so excited to have you with us. And Dinaaz, I just want to ask you, can you tell the audience quickly about you and what you do?
Well, Ed, my background is quite unusual. I've got a science and a marketing background. And if I had to explain what I do, I'm a customer-centric marketer who focuses on striving for excellence. And that's just how I am. I just strive for excellence in whatever I try and do. And I have a marketing consultancy business called Get Smart Feedback. But over the last 40 odd years, I've experienced some totally bizarre events that were totally out of my control. And as a result of them, I'm now an author, motivational speaker, and a change agent.
And I can say to the audience that Dinaaz is a great motivational speaker because you've spoken in front of our crowds. And Dinaaz, I was just going to ask you on that one. In fact, you've got a book. I understand you've got a book. Can you show us your wonderful book?
I've got a new book. It's hot off the press.
Battle Scars.
It was published only a few weeks ago, about 2 or 3 weeks back. And it's called Battle Scars. And it talks about my journey over the last 42 odd years. And it's a memoir. And anyone who's interested in reading about my story can, if you're from Australia, you can go straight to my website. You just Google Dinaaz Lentin Battle Scars. Or if you're from another country besides Australia, you go to Amazon, and in Amazon's search bar, Dinaaz Lentin Battle Scars.
Yeah. And on that book, now, can you tell us, again, it's a great story. I've sat there for hours and heard it all. Can you tell us the abridged short interview version? Tell us what happened to you and how it formed your strong motivational identity today.
My story, Ed, started in 1977 when I injured my knee. And a year later, I had my very first operation. The only problem was there was a mix-up with the hospital forms, and the surgeon unfortunately operated on the wrong leg. And that was just a start.
What? So he operated on the wrong leg?
He operated on the wrong leg. We just had to learn to move on. And then about 15 years later, built up from the experiences of the wrong leg operation. I was a bit stronger, but I experienced a rather difficult labor. It was a labor from hell. And I had so much damage that I needed 11 operations just in 1 year. And if that wasn't bad enough, one of the anesthetics from one of those operations paralyzed my arm. And I needed surgery to rectify that. And that wasn't enough, and then there's more. And then the drain was left
Just
inside.
hold on for a second. So you've had a bad run. So you had a problem with your knee. They operated the wrong knee. Then you had was it your first or second child?
My first child.
First child, massive complications. That was obviously almost the end of you. You had 11 operations, and then it gets worse.
Yes. And then after that, I had a drain left inside after the surgery to fix the paralyzed arm. So that needed another surgery as well. But all these challenges, they just they just should be seen as making you stronger. And, I overcome all those challenges. But I think the biggest challenge that I faced was about 3 years ago when, following another surgery, I found that my other arm was paralyzed. So I started to look for the surgeon who'd fixed it the previous time, but unfortunately he was dead. So then this was a really, really rare condition, and no doctor that I saw had even heard of it. So I went from one doctor to another doctor. I went from Sydney to Melbourne to Brisbane. I was communicating with doctors in the United States, in India, South Korea, trying to find someone in the medical profession who would actually believe me.
So just
And
imagine us, just so I get the plot for a wonderful audience. So you had your knee, they operated on the wrong knee.
that's right.
You're not getting that taken care of. You had a very difficult, life-threatening labour with your first
That's right.
child. Then then you came out of that with a paralysed arm.
That's right.
And then the surgeon at the time fixed that paralysed arm.
That's right.
And then the guy just tragically died of old age.
Yes, he tragically died. I don't think he was very old, but he just tragically died.
And then your other arm started playing up. Am I reading the events right?
Yes, you are. They're all years and years apart. So the wrong knee was in 1977. The labour was in 1994. And the other paralysed arm, the second time it happened, was 3 years back. And it's just a really rare condition that no one has heard of. So I started going from one doctor to another, listened to me, and in the end, they all put their hands up and said, you just have to live with a paralysed arm, nothing can be done. And I said, no, something has to be done because it was fixed the previous time. So
and on that note, I remember you telling me as well over drinks once that someone even said you should amputate your arm.
That's right. One of the doctors said, if you can't believe what all these professors and specialists are saying, well, go and get your arm amputated. That will fix the problem. Well, obviously, that's not going to fix the problem, is it? So I ended up doing my own research to try and find out why, how, who, what could possibly be done. And eventually, Ed, after 14 months and 49 doctors, I had surgery. And the result, I now have 2 arms and hands that are fully functional.
Prove it. Hold your arms up. Prove it. Show us your hands. They look good. And do you have scars? Can you show
I have scars. And that's why the book is called Battle Scars.
Oh, is that the scars there, is it?
There's one scar here.
Yeah.
It's 10 centimetres long. And there's another one over here.
Wow, so they literally opened up your whole arm like that to do the treatment.
And 2 days later, my arm wasn't paralysed anymore. And that's how quick the result was.
So you went through almost 50 doctors and they were saying weirdo stuff to you like, well, you can't help it, we can't do anything, amputate your arm.
Yes.
Until you felt the 49th doctor has said, yes, Dinaaz, I can fix it.
No, I had to bully him into it.
Wow.
He said it's against his grain to operate on something that he's not sure of. And I just said, no, just go for it because I've got absolutely nothing to lose. And I was so lucky, Ed, because in another few months, about 2 or 3 months later, if he hadn't operated, the paralysis would have been permanent.
Wow.
So I was extremely lucky.
Wow.
And so the journey over the last 42 years, that's what my memoir is about.
Got it. So what's the actual, and I'm going to ask you a real tricky question. In, I suppose, one sentence / paragraph, how would you summarize all your learnings of that crazy set of experiences that you've endured?
I can't just summarize it in one, Ed. There are, firstly, I believe everyone has to face challenges in their lives. No one is immune from challenges in their personal or business lives. And, even if you go to Amazon, you will see there are so many books with the same title, Battle Scars. There's even a song called Battle Scars. And, in the words of the motivational speaker Zig Ziglar, you don't have to be great to start. but you have to start in order to be great. And, to answer your question about what I have learned from my experiences, firstly, check and double check that you don't make a mistake in the first place. If you make a mistake, admit it and do something to rectify the situation. The other thing I've learned is just because someone is bigger and stronger than you, don't be afraid of them. Be true to yourself and fight for what you believe in is right, and never, ever give up. And the other thing that I've learned, and a lot of people don't realize, it always takes two hands to clap. There's always another side to every story. And, I have to also take responsibility for some of the things that have happened to me. For example, I signed the hospital form without reading. And that led to the wrong operation on the right operation on the wrong leg. So, everyone has to take responsibility, and we have to look at our own selves to see, hey, can I have done something to change the situation? But, with challenges, Ed, everyone, no matter what the challenge is, I feel everyone can succeed. You just have to have a formula, and I have a 5-part formula. I do everything in 5s, in case you haven't noticed. Firstly, you need the right mindset. You need the mental strength to keep on going on and to never give up. You need the right tools. The other thing that you need is you need to have positive people by your side, the right people. You can't go past divine intervention, and you also need luck. And, I'll give you a quick example of how all those 5 things helped me in part of my journey. I had the right mindset. I was determined and focused on saving my arm. Did I have the right tools? No, I'm not a doctor. I didn't have the right tools, but I put in effort and work every single day, 24/7, to get the right tools. I needed to learn about the anatomy of the arm. I needed to have the right, I needed to learn about the muscles, the nerves, the veins, the arteries. I had to look at various things about the drugs, the studies, the tests that were done. I also started at one stage thinking, I can't possibly be the only person in the whole world where this has happened to. And I started looking for a medical twin. And lo and behold, around the 7-month mark, I found a paper. I started researching on Google, and I started putting in things onto Google search bar like thumb weakness after surgery. And there on the 3rd page, I found a title. Believe it or not, it said, Isolated Thumb Interphalangeal Flexor Weakness Following Total Hip Arthroplasty. There's no way that I would have ever found it. But the only reason I found it was because it was published on my birthday. It was the birthday that I spotted first. And I was so lucky. And that's the other thing that, I think you have to succeed. And, I clicked on it, I opened it up and I read it and I thought, holy moly, I finally found a paper that I've been looking for the last 3 weeks.
You made a really good point a little bit earlier that I just want to go back to.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about divine intervention and luck. What do you mean by that exactly?
Well, divine intervention, whatever you believe in. I had people praying for me, and they didn't pray for my recovery. They prayed for divine intervention. And it's whatever you believe in. And every religion is different. Everyone's beliefs are different. So divine intervention is different for anyone. But luck, you create your own luck. Luck just doesn't fall off the back of a truck. You have to create your own luck. And I was just lucky If it had been on your birthday, for example, the paper was published, there's no way I would have found it. But it was published on my birthday, and that's the bit of luck. And the divine intervention, it was published on that day that was particularly important to me. But the last one that I was mentioning, it was you need the right people by your side, people who are motivated and encouraging, people who are mentors. And the main author who wrote that paper, I got in touch with him, and he could have quite easily ignored my email, but he was there to help me, and he guided me through the medical maze for 7 months, unconditionally helping me. And, his name is Dr. Patrick Weinrau, and, a gem of a person who actually went out of his way to help me. And even following the recovery, he's still helping me, guiding me on my next journey and my next path.
Wow. Did you ever meet this guy afterwards?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did, Ed. 6 weeks after the surgery, I flew to Brisbane and I arrived on his doorstep unannounced. His receptionist and his girls knew about my arrival, but he had no idea who I was. And he's written the foreword for my memoir. And at the launch, he flew all the way from Brisbane for 2 hours to be part of the launch, which was such a magical day.
Wow. That's an incredible story. And I got to say, I love where you're going, and bring it to, now, and just for the sake of our wonderful audience, we're doing this interview in the peak of Corona, the Corona pandemic. Based on your experiences in your life, what's your advice to people right now who are at the effect of and going through crazy times with the Corona crisis? What's your advice to people now doing it tough?
My advice to everyone is everyone is going to face challenges, and we're all going through challenges at the moment. But see these challenges as opportunities to learn and grow, and use these opportunities to make a positive impact in your life and the lives of others. And if I can end on one quote, you can't change the direction of the wind, but you can adjust your sail. So adjust your sails and go towards the destination that you want to.
Oh, beautiful and absolutely well said. And Dinaaz as well, I think you've done an amazing job with all this. What are some of your closing thoughts for our wonderful viewers across the road? What other bits of advice you're going to give to our friends to really succeed in business and life, especially during these times?
Whatever you want to achieve, you will achieve. Trust me. If I can, you can. I'm just an ordinary person, but I don't let any setbacks have an impact on me. Just go forward and keep knocking on those doors.
Well, firstly, I don't think you're an ordinary person. I think you're an exceptional person. So I highly disagree with you on that statement. However, I could not agree more with the spirit of what you're saying. Awesome, Dinaaz.
Thank you, Edward. Thank you. You rock.
Hey, that's the spirit.
Hey, look at these thumbs. All working.
Can we look at this? Can you show the scars closer? I'm kind of curious. Come closer.
How close do you want me to go? There's that one.
Wow.
And then there's that one.
That's a good party. Do you ever show it to people at parties? Check this out.
And my surgeon, when I finally got the success, he just kept on saying, "You're amazing. You're absolutely amazing. You've proved each and every doctor wrong. And all that you wanted was matching scars." And I got my matching scars.
Oh, very, very good. Dinaaz, I just want to say a big thank you. And just before we close this wonderful interview, just quickly, can you show us your book again? And can you tell us how people can contact you? I'll get in contact.
Okay, here's the book. It's very simple, Battle Scars. And my name's Dinaaz Lentin. Go onto Google. If you're from Australia, go onto Google and just put in Dinaaz Lentin, Battle Scars. and you will find it should come up, and you can order it online from our website. And if you're anywhere outside of Australia, you just go straight to Amazon and use the same technique, Dinaaz Lentin Battle Scars, on Amazon.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Dinaaz. With that all said, I just want to say thank you for this wonderful interview. I'm sure our fans around the world are going to absolutely love it.
Thank you. Thanks, Ed.